I think I read Tim Ferriss's book, The 4 Hour Work Week. Oh, I don't know, maybe 12 years ago. And, the thing about it is, I don't know what I was looking for. I was reading business books. If you know me at all, I'm a huge fan of the old ones, like Napoleon Hill and Dale Carnegie. So I guess I was probably in a headspace where I was thinking, oh my gosh, I'm slammed with clients, or, I had 3 young kids at the time. So I was probably thinking, I'm losing my mind here. How can I get more time in my week? And, the title is pretty enticing when it says, the 4 hour work week. I really couldn't turn that one down. It's not literally 4 hours a week. It really just talks about how you can work smarter, not harder. Well, it just completely changed my outlook on business. And so fast forward 10 years, 15 years, and now I have this wonderful job where I get to work from all over the country. Now I have multiple streams of income. So if I'm in a state or a region where I cannot provide counseling services, I have another stream of income. So I'm not losing money. So it's not like I'm just flitting all over the country and, costing money instead of making money. Well, that took time and that took planning. And so the 3 areas, because I love threes, the 3 areas I'm going to talk with you about today are money, your SMART goals, and then how to quit when things go sideways. And I don't mean quit everything, but you've got to have some stop losses. Those are the signals that are your signal to get out of whatever you're into, pivot, switch gears, whatever little business metaphor we're going to use. So let's talk about money, strategic planning and money. One of the things, if you've been following me, if you've ever been to one of my courses, I talk about working years above ground and disabled years above ground, right? We have a certain number of years where we are healthy and we're going to be able to earn a living, right? So those are our working years above ground. Now, the disabled years above ground, and you can go back, I talked about this last week when I was talking about money management. Those are the years when, God willing, we're going to still be here, but we may need some help. So if that's assisted living, maybe that's memory care, that's something maybe you're living with a family member, but you need to add to their income because, that's what happens when we get older if we are struggling with things, right? So with the disabled years above ground, we spend our working years planning for that. And so when we talked about money management last week and developing that healthy wealth mindset, we talked about that wealth wasn't a bad word. It's actually a very responsible thing to do as you plan for those years when you're not able to earn a living, right? So this week, we're still going to keep money at top of the list because as an entrepreneur, you do have some responsibilities here. Again, having that healthy wealth mindset, an entrepreneur is either going to have an unhealthy wealth mindset. And you look at the research, and a lot of entrepreneurship can look like standing at a slot machine in Vegas going, come on, baby. Maybe the next thing will hit. Maybe the next thing will hit. I'm going to put in one more quarter. And if you know Vegas, there's no more of this, right? It's just buttons. But my point is, if you're an entrepreneur, you can really suck the family resources. If you're by yourself and you don't have the support of a family or a partner, it's expensive to be an entrepreneur because you're spending some time ramping up and getting into your zone of genius. So money stays at the top of our strategic plan because it's still the thing that's going to make sure that we're not a burden on someone else, that we're independent. And remember last week, I talked about getting out of fight or flight, being able to relax, access those executive functions in our brain. So we're able to be creative and be a helper and grow and produce the art, the thing that we love doing. If we're in fight or flight, worrying about bills and just going from month to month, paycheck to paycheck, client to client, everything starts looking like a dollar sign. It's going to impact our mental health. It's going to impact our ethics. So one of your obligations, and I'm going to stand on this, I'm going to own this, is as an entrepreneur, as a practice owner, you must have multiple streams of income. Now, that other stream of income may be a supportive partner. Awesome. That's wonderful if you have someone who's able to contribute to your income. But if you don't, if you aren't, if that's not your scenario, your obligation to yourself is to have multiple streams of income, because if that client doesn't show and they have a legitimate reason, like they got better, hello, that shouldn't be considered a loss for you, right? That money not coming in, oh no, I can't pay my car payment this month. So part of your strategic plan is to plan for other skill sets, things that you do, and I put them into two categories. Things that are related to what you currently do. So those could be trainings that you do on EMDR. It could be blogs that you write that you can monetize about grief. It could be anything that goes alongside producing the art of counseling your clients. And there are unrelated things, right? I know a lot of therapists who also own buildings. So you're a landlord in addition to counseling, right? Totally different. But that business that you have running that office complex, or you own the building where your practice is and you rent it out to people who do other things, that is an alternate stream of income that's unrelated to what you're doing, and it complements your income. So with either of those things, whether it's related to what you do now or unrelated, you have to work into your strategic plan a period of education. There has to be a period of onboarding. So if you want to have something related to your counseling, like creating courses, it's going to take some time for you to learn the software. It's going to take some time for you to get some editing skill set, right? To turn that camera on, to create this a 60-minute video, right? Because it has to be minute for minute, hour for hour. If you want a 1 CE course that you want to create, then that video has to be 1 hour long. Or you've got to incorporate other things. You've got to read the rules. You've got to make sure you understand. So anything you do, part of your strategic plan, creating these alternative complementary streams of income, you've got to work in education. You've got to work in a 6 month to 2 years ramping up so that you know what you're doing well enough to sell it. Now, if you are, some things you'll be able to plan for easily, right? If you become EMDR certified and then you want to train the trainer, right? You want to become one of the people that certifies others. You might be able to Google, okay, that's going to take me 6 months plus another 2 months. Boom. Okay, perfect. You can start marketing this service in about 8 months. With other things, it's a little bit different. As I mentioned, the course creation, you're going to have to learn how to work a camera, edit your film, learn which learning management software works best with your proposed clientele. That's okay. You just want to make sure that that goes into the plan, which brings me to 2. If it ain't on a list, it doesn't exist. All right. So SMART goals: specific, measurable, trackable, attainable, realistic. I know I always get those out of order. So you put these things on a timeline. Now, this could be your Google Calendar, and I use both, actually. I use Google Calendar, and alarms go off all the time. So if I, for instance, tomorrow's the day I balance my checkbook, it will be in my Google Calendar, and an alarm will go off saying, okay, it's time to stop what you're doing here and go do this over there. So when you're thinking about your alternate streams of income, and you think, okay, I have to learn how to use this learning management software I purchased, Podia. And I'm an affiliate for Podia, so I love it, but full disclosure. So when you are saying, okay, I've got to get these courses going, I've got to learn the software, I've got it, well, put it on your calendar. Friday between 12 and 2, I'm going to spend time on Podia. I'm going to look at the YouTube videos. I'm going to watch the tutorials. I'm going to go through the Q&A and the FAQ section of the website. That span of time, that is something you're giving back to your business. No, you're not seeing clients during that time, but you planned for that. You're planning for the education that it takes. So whatever you like to use, if it's a Trello board, if it's a Asana, if it's something completely different, then it has to be written down. It goes from being a dream to being a goal. Now, let me take you through something real quick, because that's one of the perks you get as a Step It Up member. You get to watch me screen share. So let me do that right now. I'm going to take you to... There it is. Okay. I should have a countdown. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Here we go. So here is your Trello board, or my Trello board. So I made an example. This I just called strategic plan. So let's say your 5-year plan or 5-year goal. And then you have a 4-year goal, 3-year goal, 2, and 1. So this year, we'll just say 2023. Okay. Now, let's say your 5-year goal is to have 20 clients per week at $150 per session. Okay, that's awesome. You wrote it down. There are numbers. That means we can count it, right? That's specific, that's measurable, that's trackable. 4 years might look like 15 clients at $150 a week. Per week at, per week. So you see what I'm doing here. So for those of you who are watching, or I'm sorry, listening on the replay, or you're listening on the podcast, basically what I'm doing in Trello is I'm going through and I'm creating slowly, I'm building up to that 5-year goal. So, and I'm backwards planning. So if you're military, you'll know exactly what I'm doing, right? So 5 years, 20 clients, 4 years, 15 clients, 3 years, I might say, I want 20 clients at $100 a week. So I want a full caseload in 3 years, but I'm going to lower my monetary. 2 years, I'm going to type in 20 clients at $75 a week. So I'm raising my rate until year 4. And I'm making all this up, by the way. You guys know, you do you, right? So now 2023 is when we take our big plan and we make it into these daily goals. Well, one of the things, if you followed me, I talk about networking, face-to-face networking. So maybe in my 2-year goal, I'm going to write down, I have a free speaking gig each month where I give my 1-minute commercial. Well, if that's what I want in 2 years, then what I need to do every month this year, and let's say it's July, I'm going to book a speaking gig. So what I've done is I've tied my 5-year goal to a KPI, a key performance indicator. And that KPI I've identified is a speaking gig. I've said, okay, you know what? Every time I book a speaking gig, I usually get my phone calls go up. That's another SMART goal, specific measurable things I can count. I have a speaking gig, phone calls go up, and my conversion rate's about 30%. So speaking gig, phone calls go up, 30% of those people end up booking. That's how my client load goes up. So I can make sure that in July 2023, my goal for today might be to make 10 phone calls until I get one speaking gig for July. Once that's done, I can check that box. So you see how we take the strategic plan, we chunk it down into specific, measurable, trackable goals. Then we identify key performance indicators. I could have easily put something like speaking gigs. I could have said, join a networking organization. I could have said, learn how to use a search engine optimization on my website, take a class on SEO. I could have put a lot of things here for July that I know would directly impact the number of clients that I will have. And I didn't even talk about ways to make sure that I am able to increase my rate comfortably and ethically. Maybe it's I want to take a course so that I know I'm a specialist in couple communication, or I am an EMDR certified grief therapist working with veterans, and I live near Port Cavazos in Killeen, Texas. So there are ways that you can take big goals, chunk them down into smaller goals. Now, last but not least, what to do when you just decide, yeah, I don't want to do this anymore. This is no fun. Now, that's what we refer to as quitting. And there was a great book that I read last year called How to Quit. And I can't think of the author, Annie. Oh, she's a professional gambler. She gambles for a living. And she talks about stop losses. Stop losses, that's a term that's usually used in finances to indicate, hey, this is no longer a good investment. Take your money and run, get out. Well, when we start to do these things, building our practice, other streams of income, you're going to run into things that you just don't like anymore, or they're too expensive, or you know what, you don't feel comfortable. Maybe it's a space where you feel like you're going to get in trouble and it just doesn't feel good. Well, how will you know that it's okay to quit? Especially if you have some kind of family of origin narrative that's like, we don't quit, and you started this, you better finish it. Baloney. That's not real world. So part of your strategic plan should be an element of flexibility along with stop losses. This is how I know I'm no longer going to do this. Let me give you an example of a terrible stop loss, right? A stop loss where you're looking at this thing and you're just about to launch, let's give it a name. You're about to launch your course on couple communication. And it's going to be wonderful for people who are on the waiting list for your practice. So you have folks that you just can't get them on the schedule, but you can send them the link to this course. So it won't really make you any money yet, but you plan on monetizing it eventually. So people will already have this part of the work done. So when they come to you for therapy, they're going to be like raring to go because they're already going to have these amazing skills. And you just find yourself procrastinating. You find yourself thinking, oh, yeah, this is too hard. You know what, those floors look really dirty. I better start mopping those floors. Oh, you know what? I think I need to mow my lawn, and I'm going to get a push mower to do it. When you start making excuses for these amazing ideas, that's not a stop loss, right? That's you being afraid. And that's a whole different training. I'm not even doing that training today. That's a mindset issue. A stop loss is when you realize you have just purchased 100 t-shirts and it cost your family, not just you, it cost your family $500 and you have only sold 2 of them. And you find out somebody copied your design and they're drop shipping it for half the price from somewhere else. You think getting another batch of 500 t-shirts is a good idea? Nope. So one of your stop losses would be if our profit margin goes to this, we pull the plug on this idea go back to the drawing board, because this conflicts with our overarching monetary goal. This conflicts with our overarching time goal. Now, there's always a satisfaction stop loss too. Sometimes you just get into something and after a while you're burned out. You don't want to do it anymore, and that's okay. There is no shame in doing that. I mean, how many people do we counsel in their 30s who have an amazing law degree or a medical degree, and they're like, oh my gosh, I hate my job. I wish I hadn't done this. It's okay to not like what you're doing. Work that into your strategic plan. Your strategic plan is not handcuffs, okay? It is not an iron bar clanging shut behind you and you're trapped. You can change your mind, and that's okay. So I'm going to learn a whole lot more about strategic planning in a couple of days from Max Casero. So tune into that. I will post the link here. If you're listening to this on a replay, it probably will have already passed, but don't worry. That will also go into your Step It Up profile. And we'll drop it into the podcast in a couple of months, probably. So today we talked about I talked about strategic planning in 3 key areas. That's money, that's SMART goals. If it's not on a list, it doesn't exist. And how to quit when things go sideways, and defining what sideways is. So you could read that book, How to Quit. You could sit down with your supportive partner and identify financial losses that are just too much for the family to handle, but come up with some kind of a stop loss, an indicator that would say, we need to get out. Right? It's not a good idea anymore. So I will keep an eye on the questions in the thread, and I will take a look also. If you guys want to email with questions, that's awesome too. So have a wonderful week. Keep doing amazing things, because you're doing great things, rock star. Have a great day.